I fully intend to like keep testing rigs. I think what I've realized is I have no expectation that I will find something better for us.
I agree. I think we found the one.
I'm Bryan Rogala. I'm a writer and video producer, outdoor gear expert, live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, do a lot of work for Outside Magazine, test a lot of vehicles and campers, and I would say I'm maybe a recovering adventure rig addict.
And I'm Sarah Rogala, his wife, who has been supporting him throughout this journey of trying to find the perfect rig. We have a lot of hobbies, skiing and hunting and fishing and camping, and you're a big mountain biker and all of the
things. We got tired of being uncomfortable all the time when we do these things.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that has sort of led to a journey of different adventure rigs, maybe an obsession for some of us to find sort of the right one. Rig Confessional.
Or am I going to list them?
List them. These are just ones we've owned as
yes.
well. This isn't...
Oh yeah, we've tested a lot more than that. Okay, So when we moved here, we had the Subaru.
It didn't have enough room.
Not enough storage, yeah. So then we got the blue truck.
We had a camper shelf first.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So we decided we really liked the topper on a truck.
Yep.
Now we have enough space. Then we did the GoFast. And we thought, okay, that's awesome, being able to have, the tent ability.
Yep.
But really difficult to get in and out of.
And we found like it's not really a four-season camper. Which is what really led us into our next one.
And then we thought, okay, what if we started pulling something?
Right.
That's when we first got our teardrop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've lost count. Are we at...
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so we liked it, but it wasn't big enough. You wanted to be able to stand up and change clothes if
right.
you're going to drag this whole thing.
Exactly. I think we found with the teardrop that like, if you're going to tow something, you might as well be able to stand up, be warm, hang out inside of it.
Yes, that was the other thing. Is if it rained all day, it's like no one can get in there with you. You know, it's a tiny little space. So that brought us to Casita. And then Casita we loved and we were a fan, but it was very retro.
Right.
It was fun kind of redecorating and redoing.
We tried a couple of truck campers in there. In the middle.
Yep.
We had a slide in that I built. Which was a whole experience.
Which I sold while you were out of town.
I did. She did.
With your permission.
Yeah. Definitely. But you were not a fan of that one.
I hated that, yeah.
So the last one was the AirStream,
yes.
which we thought was like a dream camper for us, and we found a really good deal on a 20-year-old used one locally. It was a project, fixer-upper, which was fun at first, and then I think, turned into too much of a project.
Yeah, it became every time we wanted to go somewhere, there was something new that had to be done to it or fixed. And
the more that we dealt with all of these different systems and the more that we dealt with all of the amenities that were super nice to have, the more we realized that it just was a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So we really reached a point where we just needed something simple. And in all of these rigs that we owned, we were also testing things along the way.
Yeah.
And so Bryan has this huge trip.
Last summer, I rode the Great Divide mountain bike route, which basically is a bike route that parallels the Continental Divide. So I spent 45 days riding from Mexico to Canada. Had been planning it for a really long time. It was always something that I had wanted to do.
Because he's crazy.
And as a part of that, I wanted Sarah to, experience it with me and come with me on some of it, but she's not a cyclist.
I wanted to go. I wanted to be a part of this. I mean, it was such a cool, once-in-a-lifetime experience. I wanted to support him. So he asked me, what do you want to do? You want to take the AirStream? Do you want to take, the pop-up truck camper? And so I said, let's test a van. And he was shocked. He was like, a van? You hate vans. Why would you want to do this? Which is when I sort of gave him my theory of the case, is that as a solo woman, camping, I really want something that I feel like I could, easily set up on my own, kind of discreetly, not have to get out at a campsite and sort of,
deal with leveling the trailer and all that sort of stuff.
Alert everyone I was by myself. Right. And then more importantly, like if at any point in time I'm not feeling comfortable, I want to be able to drive away, which is hard to do when you have set up and unhitched a camper in the middle of the night. So for me, and just ease of highway driving, doing a big trip like this, I was like, a van seems like a good idea. So let's see what's out there and let's try something.
And that sort of led me in all the research about different rigs and vans and whatnot to Wayfarer.
I picked up the van by myself, which I think was a lot of why a van really worked for this trip, was because, you know, it was a 5-minute walkthrough because there's not a whole lot of systems. Our AirStream has pumps and heaters and all sorts of things, and it both has, you know, propane and electric and a lot going on.
There's a manual that's like that thick for the thing.
A binder.
It's like a binder, a whole book. And if you're not an RV technician or like you haven't studied this manual, then... And
a fuse blows or whatever, I'm in the middle of nowhere, you know. So anyways, I go pick up this van and it's so simple. Everything works so easily. Outside of Denver, where I stopped that night for dinner, I kind of turned around in the van and I opened the fridge and I had like a full meal waiting for me, and I pulled up next to this beautiful lake, opened the door and sat there and ate, and I was like, oh, I get it. This is really easy. And so it just became kind of perfect. And we did this 2.5 weeks of driving through, you know, Wyoming, Montana, up into Canada as Bryan finished this ride, which was also nice because it was grizzly country, so you got to... It
was very nice to sleep in a hard-sided thing and not my little solo one-person tent.
Yes. I worked out of it almost every day, which was awesome. I, you know, it was super easy if I, like, went to a coffee shop, got a coffee, then I could sit in the van and, you know, work for a little bit and then take off down the road to the next spot I was gonna meet him at. It was just simple. Everything about it just worked really well. Okay, let me tell you everything I love about this van, because I will say I'm a van skeptic, so I'm not always the biggest fan. I usually prefer a trailer, but I'm being won over here. I'm not saying something.
Yeah, what I'm hearing here, if she's a fan and that's saying something, is that is gonna perhaps put a dent in our wallet at some point here, but we'll see. After that Divide trip, we kind of fell in love with that van.
Yeah.
And we weren't expecting to.
Yeah.
And we got back and we found ourselves like missing the van that we had tested.
For sure. We would talk to other people and Bryan would say, I think we're thinking about a van. And I would say, no, I'm not buying a van. I want that van. Because I loved the Walt so much. And so we looked at some of the other models, but I was sold. I was like, this is exactly what I want. And so we got a great deal on a used van, and you know, it shows up and it's just this big empty, you know, cargo van. And you kind of look at it and think, how is this ever going to turn into something nice? And I think that's the thing that's so shocking to me about Wayfarer, is how quickly they build these things.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 3 days.
You know, that's one thing I knew going into the process how quick it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's like 2 to 3 days for a conversion, but like when it happened and I drove that empty cargo van up and I, you know, dropped it off there, and then I drove home 2 days later and it was a fully done van. Like it doesn't compute.
Like the decision from when we decided that we wanted to buy a van to when we actually were camping in the van was so short. It was like a month and a half. They make it so easy. Yep. They help you find a used van if you want. They helped us like think through financing and all of the pieces of it. And then we're on the schedule and it's being built out and it's done. And it was like, oh gosh, okay, now we have camping.
Yeah.
And then the other thing about the van was how capable it was.
That was a big surprise, I think, for both of us.
We had a lot of gravel roads, a lot of washboard, a lot of mud, and it was great. And that's what really, I think, sold me into thinking this was even possible for us. Because we camp, I would say 90% of the time, not on pavement. We're in dispersed camping. We're somewhere that's, you know, by ourselves, which we love, and we're down a kind of gnarly road.
The Wayfarer build, to me, it has everything that we wanted, right? We still have solar on top. We've got a battery system that lets us charge all of our stuff. We've got a fan.
Lights.
We've got a heater. We've got lights.
Refrigerator.
We've got a fridge. We've got water.
Yeah.
It's just simpler. There's not a separate hot water heater. There's not an oven. There's not, you know, an indoor shower that like we don't really use that much.
Yes.
Like all these things.
Well, we used it for storage. So yeah, I mean, I feel like we give nothing up and we get instead a rig that is actually ready to go.
Right. I think we weren't expecting it to be as practical of a vehicle as it is.
Yeah, but it is. That's great.
You know, we thought it was going to be a dedicated camping rig, and then now we have all these other benefits. Like it gets way better gas mileage than my truck does. I find myself driving it around town just to get groceries and things like that, which is also nice because it has a fridge.
And the dog loves it, so
great for the dog.
I'll go run errands and he'll just hang out in the van. The Tatermobile.
That's right.
it's all of a sudden we have so much more time and space.
Yeah.
To actually go camping. I mean, I'm shocked that you're not in withdrawals for, you know, all the decision. I think it is the ultimate road trip vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's our favorite camper. So
Yeah.
this one's staying. No more rigs. So can I get an agreement that this is our last rig? Have we found it?
For sure.
Like, can we shake on it on camera?
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, no, stop. It has to end somewhere.
I think it's probably ended, yeah.
I think we found our home. Our home is Wayfarer Vans.